In this lesson, you will be reading two short stories that were written following the conclusion of the Revolutionary War. Both were written by the author Washington Irving. After the United States was established as an independent country, imaginative writing, stories and poems, began to grow and displace argument as most people's favorite choice for reading. Think back to what you have read in the course so far, all nonfiction. However, once the new American nation was founded, creative writing for its own sake began to germinate and flourish. This lesson will deal with the author Washington Irving. No one is more important in the foundation of the American short story as a popular genre than Washington Irving. Instead of focusing on logic and argumentation as you read with Benjamin Franklin, he wrote stories and other types of creative pieces. Irving, who lived from 1783 till 1859, was the youngest of 11 children in a prominent New York family. He established himself as a celebrity with the publication of Knickerbocker's History of New York, which began in a serial form in 1808. It introduces a fictitious narrator, who is an unpretentious Dutchman named Dietrich Knickerbocker. Irving seems to have been a good-humored man, but also one who recognized absurdities in individuals, in accepted practices, and in politics. His writings are full of irony and satire, which you will be writing an essay about at the end of the lesson. Among his most famous stories, many of which you may know, are Rip Van Winkle, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, Ichabod Crane, The Spectre Bridegroom, and The Devil and Tom Walker. Don't think that just because Irving favored fiction over nonfiction, he stopped criticizing society around him like his nonfiction counterparts. In contrast, his writings are full of irony and satire that we, as readers, can look at as ways to see the author's opinions of society. While reading, pay attention to what the author is implying about how society works and what he thinks is right and wrong with how it functions. So now that you know that Irving began short stories as a popular genre, what are the important literary aspects of his short stories? The first important aspect is irony. Irony is simply defined as a contrast between reality and what you believe. There are several types of irony in this lesson. You will be focusing on two types, verbal and situational irony. Verbal irony is a figure of speech. The speaker intends to be understood as meaning something that contrasts with the literal or usual meaning of what he says. The different sorts of discrepancy between the meaning of what is said and what is in fact on the particular occasion meant make up verbal irony. For example, sarcasm is verbal irony. When your friend says, "That movie was great," while rolling their eyes, they really mean that the movie sucked pretty bad. In literature, verbal irony is present when a character says something different than what they actually mean. When you find verbal irony, think of why the author had the character do this. What can you learn about the characters involved? And what can you learn about the author's opinions of society? The next type of irony is situational irony. Situational irony occurs when the final outcome is opposite of what was expected. Usually, the episodes in the plot of a story will lead the audience to expect a particular resolution or ending. If such an expected outcome fails, and instead another contrary outcome occurs, the absurdity is termed situational irony. Such a form of irony is the result of a discrepancy in perspective, such that what is known and expected at one moment differs with what is known later on. For example, if two couples who are known to have irreconcilable differences move to court to conclude their divorce, people would expect that they get a divorce. If, by a twist, the couple suddenly discover